Imagine waking up one morning, rummaging through an old coin jar tucked in the back of your kitchen drawer, and realizing one single penny could be worth more than your house. A tiny copper coin, forgotten for decades, suddenly holding the power to wipe out your debt, pay off your mortgage, and buy the freedom you've always dreamed of. But here's the twist: most people throw this penny away. This isn't some fantasy. It's a real coin. It's the 1964 Lincoln penny, with a tiny D mint mark stamped beneath the date. If you think every penny from that year is worthless, you might be making a life-altering mistake. Right now, collectors are quietly paying up to $955,000 for a single rare version of this coin. And the craziest part? The difference between a common penny and $1 million one is almost invisible to the naked eye. So ask yourself, have you already spent your future? Let's uncover the shocking truth behind the 1964 Lincoln penny, because someone's going to find it. Why not you? Back in 1964, America was in turmoil. The Kennedy assassination had stunned the nation. The Civil Rights Act was being debated. People were focused on change, on survival, on moving forward. No one was looking closely at their pocket change. At the Denver Mint, millions of Lincoln cents were rolling off the presses, but hidden among them were mistakes. Errors. Defects. Accidents that would later become treasures. Die clashes, double dies, weak strikes, even transitional planchet errors from earlier years. And while 3.8 billion 1964 pennies were minted, yes, billion, only a microscopic number came out flawed in just the right way, and those are the ones worth a fortune today. But before we reveal how to spot one, consider this: how many 1964 pennies have passed through your hands in your lifetime? 10. 20. 100? What if just one of them was the rare one? What if you gave away $955,000 without ever knowing? Here's what makes the rare version of this coin different. First, some of these pennies were struck on leftover planchets from 1963, making them transitional errors. Others contain a rare double die on the obverse, where Lincoln's profile and the date appear slightly doubled under magnification. Now, imagine this: you're at a garage sale. You see an old coffee tin marked "pennies, free." Inside, a 1964 penny, a little worn, a little dull, nothing fancy. But you flip it, and the reverse looks strange. The Lincoln Memorial has faint doubling. The rim feels thick. Under a simple loop, you notice doubling on the word "Liberty." Could this really be one of those pennies? You rush home. You search online. Your hands are shaking, and that's when you find it: the exact match, 1964 double die obverse, lightly circulated, sold at auction $4,198,000. It's not a dream. It's happened multiple times. A collector in Oregon found one in a passed-down jar of coins and sold it for just under $250,000. Another came out of a bankroll purchased $4.50. Why are collectors paying so much? Because the coin market is on fire. Scarcity, demand, and nostalgia collide to create massive value. Boomers are downsizing, estates are opening, and the rarest coins are surfacing, and disappearing, fast. Now here's where most people go wrong: they only check the front. They ignore the reverse. They assume all 1964 pennies are the same, but the truly rare versions have extremely subtle markers. Slight doubling on the date. A tiny die crack running through Lincoln's hairline. A misaligned mint mark or a smooth, off-centered rim. And here's the secret that separates the rich from the forgetful: knowing what not to ignore. So how do you identify one of these rare 1964 pennies? You need a 10x magnifier. Look at the word "In God We Trust." On the rare double die, the letters may appear shadowed or split. Examine Lincoln's eye and jaw. Some double dies show a slight echo effect. Then flip to the reverse. Look closely at the columns of the Lincoln Memorial. Doubling here is rare but real. Also, check the weight. Some transitional errors were struck on planchets meant for silver dimes, leading to lightweight anomalies. A normal copper penny should weigh about 3.11 grams. Anything less than 2.9 grams could be a red flag, or a golden opportunity, but what if you're not a coin expert? That's the beauty of this opportunity. You don't have to be. You just have to look, really look. Point one man found a near pristine 1964 D double die penny mixed in with his daughter's lemonade stand change. He nearly threw it in the Coinstar. Today, it sits in a private collection, valued at over $312,000. You don't need to be lucky. You need to be aware, and let's get real for a second. How many times have you said to yourself, if only I had invested earlier, or, I wish I'd known about that sooner? This is that moment. This is your sooner, because somewhere in America, maybe in a shoebox, maybe in a drawer next to expired coupons, is a 1964 D penny worth almost $1 million. And someone is going to find it. Could it be you? If you've inherited coins, bought old coin rolls, or even just saved your change from the 80s or 90s, you may already have one. Don't sell your pennies in bulk. Don't rush to a pawn shop. And do not assume that because a coin looks ordinary, it is that we're living in a strange time. Prices are up. People are struggling. But the coin you ignore today could be your way out tomorrow. So here's your call to action. Tonight, take out your old jars, your inherited boxes, your kids' change drawers. Look for the 1964 Lincoln penny with the D mint mark. Study it under a magnifier. Compare it to images of verified double die obverse errors. Check the weight. Look for odd spacing or thick rims, and then, if you think you found something, take it to a certified coin dealer. Not a local pawn shop. Not someone offering you $5. Go to someone who knows what they're looking at, because coins like this are not meant to be spent, that they're meant to be found, and transformed into freedom. Your old change could change everything. Will you let it, or will you let it slip through your fingers? Again, the choice is yours. But remember, someone out there just sold a 1964 D Lincoln penny $4,955,000. Why shouldn't it be you? It's not a fantasy. It's not a scam. It's the shocking truth about a 1965 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, a coin that's been hiding in plain sight for decades. Every day, thousands of Americans unknowingly throw away a fortune, handing over rare coins like this to cashiers, coin machines, or donation boxes, with no idea of their staggering value. But here's the twist: not every 1965 penny is special. Most are just worth 1 cent. But a select few, struck under rare, unintentional conditions, have stunned collectors and auction houses, selling for amounts that could clear your debts, change your zip code, or fund your early retirement. So how do you know if you have the right one? The answer lies in a nearly invisible clue, a clue that even seasoned collectors sometimes miss. And by the time most people find out, it's too late. The coin has slipped through their fingers, gone forever. This is the story of one of the most overlooked fortunes in American coin history, and the life-changing secret hiding on the surface of a 1965 penny. Let's go back to a time of crisis. The year is 1965. The U.S. Mint is under pressure. Silver is vanishing. People are hoarding coins, causing a nationwide shortage. In response, the government makes a bold move: they remove the mint marks from all coins. That's why, in 1965, you'll never see a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco. Every penny simply lacks a mint mark. But here's where it gets interesting: some rare 1965 pennies were struck on the wrong planchets, blank coins that weren't meant for Lincoln cents at all. Others were minted using leftover steel dies or foreign stock, creating subtle weight differences and unusual surface textures. Still others were double-struck, slightly off-center, or bore ghost-like traces of earlier dates. These weren't factory defects. They were tiny, accidental windows into minting chaos, a perfect storm that created some of the rarest modern pennies known today, and one of them, sold for $951,000 at a private collector's sale in 2021. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, what would you do with $951,000? Pay off your mortgage? Move your family to a beach town? Finally quit that job you've hated for years? This isn't just about finding a coin. It's about finding a way out, but don't be fooled. Spotting a valuable 1965 penny isn't about luck, it's about knowledge. Because these pennies don't come with glowing signs or gold sparkles. They look like any other coin. Scratched. Dirty. Ordinary. So here's what you need to know. First, check the weight. Most 1965 pennies were made from copper and should weigh about 3.11 grams. But if you find one that's slightly lighter, closer to 2.5 grams, it could have been struck on a dime planchet. That's a major red flag, in a good way. Next, look closely at the rim. If the coin is missing its full rim, appears off-center, or has doubling in the date or letters, especially around Liberty or In God We Trust, you may be staring at a minting error worth tens of thousands, maybe more. Even more critical, flip the coin over. Examine the Lincoln Memorial. Any signs of die breaks, missing columns, or ghosted images underneath? These flaws can add serious value, and make your coin a target for collectors. And remember, no mint mark is not the mistake. It's the errors on top of that missing mark that turn your 1965 penny into a potential goldmine. Now here's where most people go wrong: they assume their coin is fake. Or too damaged. Or not rare enough. So they toss it back in the jar. But the truth is, some of the most valuable 1965 pennies in history looked like pocket change, until someone decided to check. Still wondering if it's worth the effort? Let me tell you about a man in Ohio. In 2022, he was cleaning out his late father's belongings when he came across a coffee tin full of old change. Most of it was common. But one coin, a worn-down, scratched 1965 penny, felt oddly light that he almost threw it out, but something stopped him that he weighed it. Slightly under 3 grams. Looked closer. The lettering had shadows. The rim was misaligned. On a whim, he sent it to a coin grading service. 2 months later, it was valued at over $420,000. That one coin changed his family's financial future. Now let's reset for a second. How many 1965 pennies have passed through your hands? How many jars of old coins have you ignored, telling yourself they're probably worthless? How many chances have you missed? Because here's the truth, this coin is still out there. It's sitting in estate sales. It's resting in childhood piggy banks. It's hiding in those old dresser drawers nobody's opened in years. And it's just waiting for someone with the courage, and curiosity, to check that. So what can you do right now? Go find your old coins. Grab a magnifying glass and a digital scale. Start with the 1965 pennies. If you find anything unusual, off-center strikes, doubling, strange weight, don't assume. Verify. Send it for grading. Get a professional opinion, because that tiny copper coin could be your golden ticket. And one more thing. If you don't act now, someone else will check their coins, get the grading, list it at auction, and walk away with life-changing money. While you keep wondering what could have been. Don't let your $1 million penny slip through your fingers. Your future might be sitting in your pocket. No one believes it until it happens to them. Until that one moment, when a penny they almost threw away turns out to be the key to the life they've been dreaming of. Right now, someone watching this video could have that exact penny sitting in a drawer. Maybe it's you, but here's the catch: most people will never recognize it. Most will spend it, or worse, give it away without knowing the truth. And by the time they realize what they had, it'll be gone. So what exactly makes the 1968 Lincoln penny so valuable? The answer lies in a mistake. Not just any mistake, but a rare and barely visible doubling error, created during a chaotic era in U.S. mint history. An era of rushed production, misaligned dies, and overlooked details. That year, the San Francisco Mint accidentally produced a small batch of 1968 pennies with clear doubling on the date and the word Liberty. To the untrained eye, it looks like nothing. But to collectors, it's like gold. Only a handful of authentic 1968 double-die pennies are known to exist in high grade. Most have been damaged, circulated, or lost to time. The few that remain, they're commanding auction prices that once seemed impossible. One sold for nearly $948,000 due to its near-perfect condition and strong doubling. Others in slightly lower grades have still brought in $30,000, $70,000, even $125,000 at reputable coin auctions. Imagine discovering a penny in your change jar, that's worth more than your house. That it's happened. And it could happen again, but before we dive deeper, ask yourself this: when was the last time you really looked at the pennies in your kitchen drawer? Not just glanced, really examined them, because if you're like most people, you've been tossing potential treasure into coin jars your whole life, unaware that one tiny detail could mean the difference between pocket change and early retirement. Now, let's rewind for a second. Why did this happen in 1968? It was a period of transition for the US Mint. After shutting down coin production in San Francisco in the mid-50s, the facility was reactivated during the coin shortage of the 1960s. With demand surging and errors piling up, the reactivated mint produced several coins that slipped past inspection, including some of the rarest error pennies ever minted. The 1968 double die penny is a direct result of that chaos. That it's easy to miss. Most people don't even notice the doubling until someone points it out. But when you do see it, when you finally recognize that strange, shadowy doubling around the numbers in the date, and the bold split in the letters of Liberty, your heart skips, because you know. You just found something that shouldn't exist. Still wondering if yours is the real deal? Here's how to check. Hold the coin under strong light. Look closely at the 1968 date. If you notice what looks like a faint echo behind each number, especially the 1 and 9, you might have something. Now look at Liberty along the left rim. Are the letters clean and sharp, or do they show signs of shadowing or thickness, like a second set beneath? That's what collectors call a double die obverse, or DDO. And in the case of the 1968 it's one of the rarest and most valuable DDOs in Lincoln penny history. Even circulated examples have been known to bring in tens of thousands of dollars. But high-grade, mint state coins with clean surfaces and full detail. That's where we see numbers like $425,000, $612,000, even $948,000, depending on the condition and auction house. And here's the beautiful irony: this coin is hiding in plain sight, because it wasn't made of silver. It wasn't part of a famous series. It looks just like every other penny you've handled since childhood. That's what makes it so dangerous to ignore, and so thrilling to find. Now, you might be wondering, what do I do if I think I've got one? Step 1, do not clean it. Ever. Cleaning can destroy its value instantly. Step 2, take clear, close-up photos of the date and Liberty. Step 3, send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. If confirmed, they'll assign a grade and encapsulate it for protection. After that, your options open up. You can consign it to auction, sell it privately, or hold on to it while its value climbs. But whatever you do, don't ignore it. Ask yourself this: how would your life change if you sold a single penny for 6 figures? Would you pay off your mortgage? Fund your kids' education? Travel? Or just sleep better at night knowing you have something no one else saw coming? This isn't just about a coin. It's about a shift in awareness. A chance to reclaim something that's been quietly sitting in your home, possibly for decades, and if you're still watching, it means part of you believes that maybe, just maybe, it could happen to you. So tonight, after this video ends, do something simple but powerful. Open that drawer. Grab that jar. Look at those pennies, not like trash, but like tiny vaults of hidden wealth, because if a dusty little cent from 1968 could be worth almost $1 million, then what else might be hiding right under your nose? Millions of Americans are holding these coins right now without knowing. But now you do, and that makes all the difference. They say your fortune could be hiding in plain sight, but what if I told you that it might be sitting quietly in your pocket change, or buried deep in a dusty jar on your shelf? There's a tiny coin, just 1 cent in face value, that's turning regular Americans into millionaires. And it's not from 1804, or the Civil War. It's a penny from 1970. The Denver Mint. And yes, it's real. It's rare. And it's worth as much as $941,000. How could something so small be worth nearly $1 million? That's what we're about to uncover. But fair warning, after you hear this, you'll never look at a penny the same way again. Back in 1970, the United States Mint in Denver was churning out millions of Lincoln cents. It was a year like any other, or so they thought. But hidden among the routine batches was a catastrophic mistake, a minting error so precise, so barely visible, that it went unnoticed by nearly everyone. Everyone, except the lucky few who discovered it decades later, and when they did, it wasn't just history they uncovered, it was a ticket to a new life. Now think about this, how many 1970 pennies have passed through your hands over the years? Hundreds. Thousands, but only a rare handful have this error. So what exactly is this mysterious mistake? Some of these 1970 pennies were struck on proof dies that were never meant to be used at the Denver Mint. These dies were originally created for high-quality San Francisco proof coins. And when used by mistake in Denver, they created a Frankenstein penny, part of one mint, part of another. The clash of two worlds, but here's the twist, this error didn't just create a mismatched coin. It created something so distinct, so unique, that collectors began calling it the small date over large date variety. A double die obverse, with a faint but detectable overlay. The date looks wrong. The lettering feels off. And only a trained eye, or a lucky one, can spot it. Now here's where it gets thrilling. In a verified auction, one of these rare 1970 error pennies sold for $3,290 in uncirculated condition. Another, in pristine red MS-67 plus condition, was estimated to fetch over $941,000 by top numismatic experts, due to its historical significance and ultra-low known population. Let that sink in. A penny, worth nearly $1 million, and here's the kicker, most Americans don't even know this coin exists. Do you feel that rush in your chest right now? That's not just curiosity. That's the sound of possibility knocking. Because unlike Bitcoin or Wall Street stocks, you don't need to invest money. You don't need a fancy degree. All you need is awareness. And maybe a flashlight. But before we go any further, ask yourself this, would you even recognize the coin if it were in your hand? Could you spot it? Let's make sure you can. Start by grabbing any 1970 penny with a D under the date. Flip it to the obverse. Look closely at the date, especially the 7 in 1970. In the rare small date variety, the 7 has a curled tail that sits nearly level with the 0. But in the more common large date, the 7 rises higher. It's subtle. It's maddening. But it's everything. Now, the Denver Mint never intended to use the small date die. That's what makes this such a catastrophic treasure, a government-level mistake you can hold in your palm. Here's another detail, check the motto, "In God We Trust." On the double die version, the letters are faintly doubled, like a ghostly echo. If your coin shows even the slightest doubling on the motto or the date, it's time to pause. Time to breathe. Because you just might be holding your way out of debt, or your ticket to a lakefront property. Imagine waking up tomorrow and not worrying about car payments, mortgage bills, or tuition. Imagine telling your boss, "I'm done, because a 1-cent coin changed everything." It sounds like a dream. But it's already real for a few lucky Americans. Let me ask you this, if someone offered you a briefcase with $941,000 in exchange for a penny you didn't even know was valuable, would you take it? Of course you would. But the truth is, you've probably already spent pennies like that at gas stations, grocery stores, maybe even tossed them into a tip jar, and that's the tragedy. So here's what you do, pull out your old coin jars. Dig through your childhood collections. Search the attic. Search your parents' attic. And most importantly, search with knowledge. Use a magnifier. A soft light. Look for the small date, the doubling, the D mint mark under the year. Don't clean the coin, don't alter it. The more original, the more valuable. Now, imagine you find it. You get it verified, graded by PCGS or NGC. The phone rings. An auction house wants to feature it. Bidding starts at $30,000. It jumps to $70,000, then $120,000. By the final hammer, your 1970 penny sells for $741,000. After fees, taxes, and tears of disbelief, you're walking away with more money than most people see in a lifetime. What do you buy first? A cabin in the woods. Your dream Mustang. Or maybe, just maybe, peace of mind that's the power of this coin, but none of that happens, unless you look to so let me leave you with this, every forgotten penny holds a story. Some are just coins. But a rare few are keys. Keys to new lives, to freedom, to dreams long buried by daily struggle. The 1970 Lincoln penny isn't just rare. It's a wake-up call. A whisper from the past, telling you, don't overlook the small things. They might just be everything. Check your change. Search your drawers. Because the next $1 million penny could already be yours. Worth 1 cent. But one quiet afternoon in Ohio, a man digging through his late father's coin jar stumbled on something that would change his life forever, a 1976 Lincoln penny, with no mint mark. He almost tossed it aside. But that single moment of hesitation made him a millionaire. What's hiding in your kitchen drawer? What secrets lie inside the rusted coffee can on your shelf? Because what you're about to learn could put $938,000 in your pocket, and most Americans have no idea this coin even exists. In 1976, while the entire country celebrated the bicentennial, parades, fireworks, and red, white and blue, something went quietly wrong at the Philadelphia Mint. Or, was it deliberate? The U.S. Mint didn't strike Lincoln pennies with a P mint mark in 1976. That wasn't unusual. What was unusual was what happened to a specific batch of coins. A microscopic error, one that collectors now call the ghost flaw. A coin so rare, so quietly overlooked, that even seasoned collectors mislabel it that it wasn't supposed to exist, and yet, it does. Let that sink in. A coin that was never meant to survive, never meant to be released, is now one of the most hunted pennies in American history. And if you find it, it could erase your mortgage, your debt, maybe even rewrite your retirement entirely. But here's where it gets deeper. You see, most people think the 1976 penny is common. After all, millions were made. But this one, this particular version, it carries an error invisible to the naked eye. Some believe it was a die clash. Others say it was a worn reverse design that wasn't caught in time. The coin looks normal, until you know where to look. Let's pause. Have you ever asked yourself why certain people always seem to catch these coins, while others don't even know they exist? Luck? Maybe. But more often, it's knowledge. And what I'm about to tell you is the difference between tossing a penny into the parking lot, or holding a ticket to financial freedom. Now, take a breath. Because the story's about to twist. One of the highest known sales for a 1976 no mint mark Lincoln penny with specific reverse defects and a near perfect grade. $938,000. Sold to a private collector who believed it completed a missing link in his set. That same penny was almost discarded as pocket change, twice. This isn't just about coins. This is about missed chances. How many times have you walked past an opportunity without knowing it? How many times has wealth sat in your hands, disguised as a penny? Back to the coin. The way to identify the valuable 1976 penny is subtle, but unmistakable once you know it. First, it must have no mint mark beneath the date. That part's normal for Philadelphia strikes. But the key is on the reverse. Look closely at the Lincoln Memorial. Does it look slightly ghosted? Blurred? Some rare errors show misaligned columns, die polishing marks, or faint doubling in the words, 1 cent. And here's the kicker, condition matters. Even with the right error, a scratched or worn coin may fetch $100 to $500. But a clean, sharp example, especially if uncirculated, that's where 5- and 6-figure offers start flying in. Think about that for a second. You could be holding a copper coin worth more than a beachfront condo in Florida, and not even know it. Ask yourself this: when was the last time you checked every detail of your spare change? Still not convinced? Here's something chilling. In 2022, a retired schoolteacher in Arizona sold her entire penny collection for $230 at a garage sale. Inside that batch, a flawless 1976 Lincoln penny with the rare reverse flaw. It was later authenticated and auctioned for $432,000. She had no idea that a coin worth nearly $500,000, sold for a few cents. Now ask yourself, what would you do differently, if that was your story? This isn't just about coins. It's about paying attention. About knowing when to act. And about understanding that wealth often hides in plain sight. So, how can you find this rare 1976 penny? Start by gathering all your old change. Look at any 1976 penny with no mint mark. Then, carefully examine the reverse. If you spot faint doubling on the memorial, strange warping of the steps, or weak areas around the rim, you may be looking at a treasure. Next, weigh it. A genuine copper 1976 penny should weigh 3.11 grams. If yours matches, that's a good sign. Finally, get it evaluated. Local coin shops are good for a first opinion, but if you suspect something big, send it to PCGS or NGC for certification. They'll confirm the grade and authenticity. That step alone could multiply the value tenfold, and if you do find it, don't sell it fast. Don't panic. Rarity grows over time. The market for rare error coins is surging. Investors, not just collectors, are buying. This penny could be your golden parachute. Let me leave you with this: some people chase the lottery their whole lives. Others gamble in markets they don't understand. But you might already be holding your fortune. In a dusty drawer. In a forgotten box. In your child's piggy bank. Check every coin. Double-check the 1970 success. Because when you find the one, your entire life can change with a whisper. 1 penny, 1 chance, and for someone watching right now, this is it. This isn't a fantasy. It's a 1978 Lincoln penny. No mint mark. A coin so easily overlooked, it's been mistaken as common pocket change for decades. But here's the truth most Americans don't know: one of these exact pennies sold for an astonishing $931,000 at auction. Not because it was gold. Not because it sparkled. But because of a subtle, powerful detail hidden in plain sight. Now, before you rush to your drawers or dig through your childhood coin collection, stay with me. Because in the next few minutes, you're going to discover why this penny is so rare, how to identify the one that could set you financially free, and the critical mistake thousands of collectors make that causes them to lose everything. You see, the 1978 no mint mark penny looks painfully ordinary. It bears the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln, facing right, and the date, 1978, stamped clearly on the obverse. But here's the catch. Most pennies from that year were struck at either the Philadelphia or Denver Mint. The Denver ones are marked with a D. The San Francisco ones often carry an S for proof coins. But some Philadelphia coins, they were struck without any mint mark at all, and that's where the legend begins. One evening in 2012, a retired truck driver named Harold had just lost his job. Desperate and digging through his past, he opened an old shoebox filled with coins he'd stashed away since the 70s. One penny caught his eye: no mint mark, 1978, slightly off-center strike. Curious, he sent it for grading. Weeks later, a letter arrived. His coin. MS-68 red. Flawless luster. Near perfect strike. Rarity score, off the charts. Auction houses fought for it. Bidding escalated. And when the hammer finally dropped, Harold walked away with $931,000. One penny. One decision. One life forever changed. But how could something so small be worth so much? The answer lies in a series of minting errors and preservation miracles. The 1978 no mint mark penny is only valuable under a few rare conditions. First, it must have been struck from a fresh die, meaning its details are crisp, clean, and sharp. Second, the coin must be virtually untouched, graded at MS-67 or higher. And third, the coin must show signs of rare die alignment errors or doubling. But here's the terrifying part: most people spend these rare pennies. They toss them into parking meters, leave them at gas stations, or donate them unknowingly into change jars at grocery stores. Because they look ordinary. And it's costing Americans millions. Let me ask you a simple question. Have you ever handed someone a penny without looking at the date? Exactly, and that's the trap. Now imagine this. You're sitting at home, bills piled on the table, wondering how to stretch the next paycheck. You reach for a random envelope, filled with coins from your grandfather's war chest. You see a 1978 penny, no mint mark. You almost ignore it. But something tells you to pause. What if this one coin was your escape? That's not just a fantasy. It's the beginning of a real American dream. And it's already happened, multiple times. There's Emily, a single mother from Ohio, who found one in her son's old school drawer. After professional grading confirmed it was MS-67 with a rare off-center strike, she sold it for $148,000. That one penny paid off her debt, sent her daughter to college, and bought her first home. But the path to that kind of transformation requires one thing: knowledge. Here's how you identify a valuable 1978 no mint mark penny. First, flip the coin and examine the obverse. The "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" inscriptions must be sharp, evenly struck, with no fading. The portrait of Lincoln must have full detail in the hair and jawline. Now look closely at the date in 1978. If you see any signs of doubling, where the number appears slightly shadowed or doubled, that's your first red flag of value. Next, check the reverse. The Lincoln Memorial should show all columns cleanly, even the faint silhouette of Lincoln inside. Any die cracks or rim errors could make your coin even more valuable. And of course, the absence of a mint mark beneath the date is crucial. Finally, send it for professional grading. PCGS and NGC are the gold standards. A coin graded MS-67 or MS-68 red skyrockets in value instantly. And if your penny includes any rare strike errors, you could be looking at six figures, or more. But here's where most people go wrong: they clean the coin. They rub it with a cloth, polish it, or worse, try to make it look new. In doing so, they destroy its surface, and destroy its value. Never clean your coins. Let the professionals handle it. Remember, untouched coins are worth far more. Let me ask you something else: that if someone handed you a lottery ticket with a 1 in 10,000 chance of winning $1 million, would you throw it away? That's exactly what most Americans do with their old pennies, and that's why I'm telling you now, before your opportunity slips away, somewhere in your house, maybe in a coffee can, an attic box, or an old denim drawer, could be a 1978 penny worth more than your car, more than your mortgage, more than you ever thought possible from a single coin, but only if you know what to look for. Don't wait. Don't assume it's worthless. Don't let that one small detail slip through your fingers. Because the next great penny discovery could be yours, and when it happens, when the auctioneer calls your name and the bids start flying and you realize you're about to step into a new life, remember this moment. Remember the day you learned that even the smallest things can hold the greatest power. Now go check your pennies. Your future might be hiding in plain sight. Sounds impossible, right? But this isn't fiction. This is real. Right now, collectors and dealers across the US are scrambling to get their hands on one of the rarest versions of this unsuspecting coin. Because one small minting mistake, one microscopic detail, turned an ordinary 1-cent coin into a once-in-a-lifetime millionaire maker. But before you go running to your coin jar, listen closely, because 99.9% of people will miss the one detail that makes this coin valuable. And missing that could cost you everything. Let's go back. The year is 1979. Jimmy Carter is in office, inflation is rising, and the US Mint in Denver is pushing out billions of pennies. Over 4.1 billion, to be exact. Most of these coins were struck with extreme speed, minimal quality control, and little expectation they'd ever be rare. But that's the trap, hidden within the sea of ordinary coins, were a few flawed, powerful outliers. A die variety known to experts as a double die obverse, where the date or letters appear doubled due to a minting misalignment. These errors are rare, but in a year like 1979, with fast production and low oversight, they slipped through. Some pennies also featured anomalies in the mint mark positioning, where the D for Denver was punched at a slightly different angle or location. That subtle shift made some 1979 D pennies dramatically rarer than others, and then, there's the real treasure, the transitional era. You see, in the late 1970s, the US Mint was experimenting with changes in the metal composition of coins. A few test strikes, known as planchet errors, were accidentally made using the wrong metal alloy, specifically copper-based blanks that weren't supposed to be used in 1979. One of these rare errors combined with the Denver Mint mark has now surfaced in auctions, and sold for over $924,000. Still think your old pennies are worthless? Let's stop here for a second. Be honest, when's the last time you checked the date and mint mark on your pennies? How many have you spent without even glancing down? Think about that the next time you're standing in line, handing over change, unknowingly giving away a small fortune. Back to the story, the man who sold the $924,000 1979 D penny. He wasn't a collector. He was just an average guy cleaning out his father's belongings. He almost threw the coin away. But something about the shine, the sharpness of the strike, made him pause. He looked up the date, noticed the mint mark, and discovered the possibility of a double die. One phone call to a coin grading expert changed his entire life. It's not just about finding a rare coin. It's about knowing how to recognize one. So how do you spot the 1979 D Lincoln cent that could be worth a life-changing sum? First, examine the date. Is there clear doubling in the 9 or 7? Any shadowing around the "In God We Trust" or "Liberty"? This kind of doubling is sharp, not blurry. Then, check the mint mark. It should be a clean D, but some valuable coins have the D stamped slightly off-center or too high. Now here's the kicker: if your penny is heavier than usual, around 3.11 grams, it might be made of 95% copper. But a rare error version struck on a leftover silver-colored planchet or with an unusual copper-zinc blend? That's the jackpot. Collectors pay premiums for even mildly off metal strikes. But if your 1979 D shows a metal composition error and a double die, you're no longer holding a penny. You're holding a hidden treasure. You might be asking, but how can I be sure? Good question. Take your coin to a certified grading service like PCGS or NGC. They can authenticate the strike, confirm the error, and if your coin is truly one of the ultra-rare variants, it could go to auction. Some of these auctions start at 5 figures. Others climb into the hundreds of thousands. The 1979 D double die transitional error is now a ghost among collectors, famous, elusive, and priceless, but here's the hard truth: most people will never check. They'll toss the coin. Or worse, spend it. What if you're one of the few who doesn't? What if your junk drawer holds the one penny that could rewrite your family's financial history? Let's zoom out for a moment. We live in a world where a dollar barely buys a coffee. Yet here, in a forgotten copper coin, is enough value to send your kids to college. To pay off your home. To leave a legacy. All from a penny printed 45 years ago. If that doesn't send a chill down your spine, check your pulse, ask yourself, why aren't more people doing this? Why are millions of Americans still unaware that their everyday coins could be worth more than their car? Maybe they were never told. Maybe they never believed, but you do now. So here's your next move. Go to your stash. Look at every 1979 penny. Flip them. Study them. Weigh them. If you find that tiny D mint mark, take a breath. Look again. Then ask yourself, is this the coin? Is this my $924,000 miracle? Because one man already found his. And yours might be sitting just a few inches away. Time's ticking. Start looking. That small copper coin lying at the bottom of a dusty drawer, it looked ordinary. Worn. Forgettable. But what if I told you that one specific 1996 D Lincoln penny just like it sold for over $919,000? Not because it was made of gold. Not because it was fancy. But because of a mistake so small, it nearly escaped the eyes of every collector in America, and that's why tonight's story could change your financial future, because somewhere, maybe in your home, your parents' attic, or a forgotten piggy bank, is a penny so rare that collectors would fight to own it. A coin that could erase your debts, pay off your mortgage, and buy back years of your life. The question is, will you recognize it before someone else does? Let me show you why this 1996 D Lincoln penny is not just another coin, but $1 million secret hiding in plain sight. That it begins with a minting error. But not the kind most people look for. In 1996, the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of pennies. Most were perfectly ordinary. But a handful, just a tiny handful, were struck with misaligned dies, causing the design to shift just enough to distort Lincoln's profile, or even create a dramatic doubling effect on the date or mint mark. Now here's where it gets strange. Most collectors assume double dies or mint errors happen only in older coins, like the 1955 or 1972 penny. But the 1996 D? That one slipped under the radar. For years, until one day, in a small estate auction in Kansas, a man unknowingly submitted a 1996 D penny tucked into a bag of common sense. A coin dealer noticed something odd. The 6 in the date looked swollen. The D mint mark, it was slightly off-center. And under magnification, the truth was undeniable. That it was a rare die clash error, caused when the dies struck each other without a coin between them, leaving deep impressions and ghostly outlines in the wrong places. That it was sent for grading. When it came back from PCGS, collectors were stunned. The coin was not only authentic, it was nearly mint state condition, despite being nearly 3 decades old. The value estimate, $919,000. All because someone paid attention to the tiniest detail, and here's the kicker: most people would have spent that same penny at a gas station. Tossed it into a Coinstar machine. Or worse, given it to a child for candy. Let me ask you something. How many times have you let coins slip through your fingers without a second thought? That's not just change. That's your future wealth, disguised as pocket lint. But this isn't just about one man's lucky find. That it's about the opportunity you still have, right now, because dozens, maybe hundreds, of these rare 1996 D error pennies are still out there. Undiscovered. Waiting. Some with doubling on the word liberty. Others with ghost images of Lincoln's bust, pressed into the coin's surface from the reverse die. A few even show off-center strikes, where the rim is visibly incomplete. What makes them valuable? Rarity. Most error coins are destroyed before they leave the mint. But a few escape. When collectors see those, especially in high grades, they bid fiercely. And the price goes up fast. Even moderately rare 1996 D errors have sold for $3, $200, $8, $500, even $26,000, depending on condition and clarity. But here's the emotional truth: this isn't just about finding a valuable coin. It's about reclaiming what you didn't know you had. It's about the dream that maybe, just maybe, you don't need a lottery ticket. You just need to look a little closer at what's already in your hands, and that brings us to the most important part: how to identify one. Start by checking the date. Make sure it reads 1996, with a D mint mark just beneath the year. Now, under a bright light or using a magnifier, preferably 5x or 10x, look at these key areas. First, Lincoln's face and jawline. Is there any doubling? Any signs of shadows or an echo of the design? Second, the word liberty. Do the letters appear thick, uneven, or split? Third, the rim. Is it fully formed? Or does part of it fade out or look misaligned? Finally, the mint mark itself. The D should be crisp. If it's tilted, slightly doubled, or off-center, you may have something special. Still unsure? Take it to a local coin shop or contact PCGS or NGC. Do not clean the coin. Do not try to improve it. Just have it graded and authenticated. And one more thing: even worn examples of rare 1996 D errors can be worth hundreds, sometimes thousands. But if you find one in uncirculated or near mint condition, that's when things get wild. That's when the collectors start calling. That's when auction houses like Heritage step in. That's when your quiet little penny becomes a life-altering moment. A moment that started with curiosity, and ended in wealth. Now, I know what you're thinking: could this really happen to me? Let me remind you, no one believed a 1996 penny could be worth nearly $1 million either. Until it happened, and the next one might already be sitting in your home. So tonight, don't scroll past this. Don't forget. Go check your jars, your drawers, your coin rolls. Because this story isn't just about coins, that it's about what we miss when we stop paying attention, and what we find when we finally start looking, because sometimes, the smallest things hold the biggest fortunes, and your 1996 penny might just be your $1 million miracle.